Hi, spooky people. Welcome to the Spooky and Weird with Sue Blaine. I first want to wish a happy Pride Month to the LGBT community. I know it's going to be great. Even here in my little town, they're having festivities, and I think that's wonderful. So we can go ahead and put aside the ugliness and have some fun. It's okay, have fun for one day. No, have fun for all days, but let's just celebrate. Okay. Do you know that expression, truth is stranger than fiction? Well, a lot of my stories are based on actual events in my life. Lucid dreaming is, they're all my dreams. I had all of those dreams. I explained them or expanded on them in Frozen Shadows at the end, which you should read Lucid Dreaming before you read that, just FYI. There's a very critical scene in Last Text that I won't go into because I don't know if it's a spoiler, but it's a major scene, very important scene in Gina's life, and that's firsthand. If you if you know, as they say, and if you don't, when you read Last Text, I think that scene will stick out, and it's real, and it was unpleasant. But most of these scenes I can look back at and either laugh or at least kind of understand after a fashion, which is a very stupid expression, and I apologize for that. But the other day, I want to tell you this story. This was so, I was going to save it and make it sort of a story in another book or a story of itself or another short story. I wasn't quite sure. But it was so fucking bizarre. It was so utterly surreal that I kind of feel like I just need to take a minute and talk about it because I need to share this with you. The other day, Chris and I were sitting on the couch. This is a few days ago, and I'm still kind of tripping about it, so it was weird. But before I do that, because the tangents are what I do, one time when I still lived in the city and I was at the bus stop, I went out in the morning to go ahead and go to work. And I'm standing at the bus stop, and this very, very old Chinese lady was sitting there, and she's not, she's not very tall, and I'm 6 feet tall. So I feel like I'm being stared at, and I look, and she is staring at me like this, just so angry. And I feel this think against my shin. And I couldn't figure out what was going on at first, and I realized that this woman was picking up little tiny pebbles and just throwing them at me. And it was so funny. It was so unbelievably funny, and I still tell that story. Obviously, I just did. But I have no earthly idea. I never saw her before. I never saw her again. I don't know what happened. It's just one of the glorious things that is San Francisco. So, anyway, that occurred to me, and it's funny. So there it is. Chris and I are sitting on the couch, and we're winding our day down. It's probably like 8 o'clock at night, still light out, it's daylight savings or whatever. So we're sitting there, probably, I can't remember, we're looking for something in Shutter. Doesn't matter. All of a sudden, okay, now we live on a major road. For my little tiny small town, it's a major road. It's a major artery through the town. And so you hear lots of loud noises and sounds do weird things and everything else. But we heard this just ungodly sound of children screaming. Happy screaming, but just the decibel level, that a little child can make. It's like an airplane taking off. And it just got closer and closer, and pretty soon it was clearly on our front porch. Bang, 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 little feet making a sound that a creature that size should not be able to make. Bang, bang, bang. And then, this screaming, And we heard they were all boys, as it turns out. There was 4 or 5 of them. I'm not even sure, in this tornado of spawn. But we heard one of the little boys say, knock, 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 knock. My some of our best friends live here, and they have kidlings, and they're, we love them, and they could come over and do that, and we'd be like, oh, it's name redacted, name redacted. But they're I think 9 and 11 now, and these were little bitty kids, and there was a horde of them. Anyway, so I got up and I opened the door to see what the hell was going on, and here are 4 or 5 kids, just running around. I think they're like 7 to like 3 or something, and they're just running around our patio. Our patio kind of L's like that, so it's a decent sized little sort of patio, and they're just running around, stomping around, grabbing things. I was absolutely dumbfounded. And I looked down. Now, here's the street, right? And there's like 4 steps up to us from there, a retaining wall. And then there's a path. And then there's about, I'm not even sure right now, 3 or 4 steps to the patio, to our house. So these people didn't just get out of the car and whoopsie, or whatever. They made an effort to get up to our house. And here's one of the adults. I'm just going to call her Grandma because she was older. There was a woman in the car that I call Mom because she was, it could have been, it would have worked out age-wise. So anyway, Mom never got out of the car. She's in a minivan. She never moved. And I hate to say it, but I recognized the look of a severe hangover. I've had that look once or twice. So I recognized the look. I believe that's what it was. At any rate, here's the grandma, and she's standing down at the base of down the path. So she's some distance from these fucking kids. And she's smiling, and she sees us, and Chris came out too. And she's just, and we're screaming. I can't even hear myself. I'm loud. I don't know if you've picked up on that yet. You probably have. But when I scream, I used to sing opera. So I yell to the back of the theater. So I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Get the fuck off. Get your fucking kids. Get out of here. I'm doing this. They didn't move. The kids just running around. Some of them ran off the sort of patio, and then, they're running around our front yard. There's no fence between us and the neighbors, so they're running around the neighbor's front yard. And they won't leave. They just absolutely will not leave. And they're screaming. One of the kids, we've got sapling apple trees, and one of the kids starts pulling on the fucking apple tree. And the mother was standing right there. Grandma, I mean. So I screamed. I came down a few steps and I screamed at him, don't you touch the tree. And then Grandma went, oh, don't touch the tree, honey. Now, these little kids, okay, I want to make it very clear. None of this is the fault of those children. None of it. Every single thing those kids were doing, I may say brat now and then because, well, frankly, they were brats, but it's not their fault. It's not the fault of children that age. Did I say they were about 7 to 3? I can't remember if I said that, but they were little. It's not their fault. They've been raised horribly by this hungover woman in this minivan and this woman who gave exactly 2 shits about private property. So I'm going to sidetrack myself again. I am not judging someone for being hungover. I have no high ground on that. But if you are actively drinking and actively drinking so much that you can't even go after your children, that's a problem. So I mean, it just became sort of a dream state. I couldn't even, you can't touch the children. You can't so much as breathe on the children. I could not, sort of direct them off my porch. You can't. You absolutely can't. Um, so these children are running around screaming, and they didn't actually do any property damage, so I will give them that. But I don't know. They're going to go into the yard, through the gate into the yard. These children have clearly not been raised right. I'm fairly anti-authoritarian by nature, so I don't say these words very often, but those kids needed a heavier hand, or a firmer hand, I guess is the thing. They needed to be taught how to behave, and they clearly had not. Anywho, so this, I'm not even sure how long this went on. I think it was probably maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, but it felt like eight, years. I don't know. That's not right, but it felt like a very long time, and I don't think it was actually as long as I feel like it was. But at one point, these kids, they're running around, and I'm doing this. Chris is behind me screaming. I can't hear him. Chris is not quiet either. I literally didn't think he was outside with me because I could not hear him screaming, and he was like right here. So I'm yelling, he's yelling. I walk forward on the porch so I'm almost to the steps. Why I didn't go down the steps, I do not know. I really do not know. But I'm doing this. And I'm yelling at her. I'm yelling at the kids too, because seriously? But I'm yelling at her, primarily because this is your problem. Actually, this is your doing, not mine. I don't have any kids. High five, Chris. We always high five behind that because we don't want kids. Anywho, so they wouldn't leave. And the next thing I know, this is where it got really creepy. The grandma finally did come up to where I was, to the base of the steps to the patio porch. I've always lived in apartments, so it's like, it's a patio. No, that's a porch. Anyway, she points at this rock about this size that's sitting on the steps. And she points to it, and she is, she's quote unquote beneath me. I mean, literally, I'm on the porch, and she's at the bottom step. I don't mean that in a terrible way. She's beneath me. So she's looking up, and she points at it and goes, I don't know where he got that, but he left it right there. I just don't know where he got it. That was creepy. Then I remembered that there was a package, that Chris had gotten a package. And the mailbox, she's standing right next to the mailbox. I'm in no fucking way I'm leaving them out there with a package in the mailbox. So I grab it very quickly, and I close the mailbox, and I kind of hid it behind me, clenched it tightly so no little hands could grab it. And she turns to the boy, the oldest boy, is in the 7-year-old neighborhood. And she says, see, honey? That's where the package was. That's her mailbox. I don't actually remember them leaving. I don't know if I blacked out. I don't mean blacked out, but you know how your brain will just go, I'm done. That happened to me one time when I had an accident long time ago. I got my truck, and it was used, but it was my first vehicle, and I was very proud of it and very happy. And I was very young. 17, maybe. I don't think I was 18. Hadn't had my license very long. And somebody pulled forward, and this is in Fremont, my hometown, pulled forward. I think it was on Paseo Padre. If any of you Fremontians, you know, Paseo Padre is wide. You mean to say there's, even back in my day, it's a wide sort of street, many lanes. At any rate, this guy cuts in front of me, and I had to fishtail to not hit him. The last thing I remember is that asshole turning around and going in the back window. The next thing I remember is I'm on the median, up like this. My left tires are up on the thing, and they're shredded because apparently I hit the median, and it sort of pushed my rims in and shredded my tires. But I was like this. I had people in the back. I had a shell. I had people in the back and passenger, and I was like this. I have, and they were like, "Oh my God, you did an awesome job," because it hit, and I just didn't lose control. No memory of that. Absolutely no memory of that. And I have never gotten like a flicker of a memory. It's just gone. I went into some sort of lizard brain autopilot or something. I don't know. Anywho, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know if I went into that space while this was going on because I was really upset. I felt helpless because I could do nothing. If that woman was not going to control her spawn or somebody's spawn, I can't. I can do nothing. These kids can run around. I suppose if they broke a window, I could intervene, but even then, you touch a child, even if those children desperately needed to be touched. But there's nothing, absolutely nothing I can do. I can't force them to leave. I could have called the police. One of my friends said, you should have, sprayed him with a hose or something. None of that occurred to me. Take a picture of the minivan. I always have my phone. Always. It's an appendage. Didn't occur to me. Did not occur to me. So I just stood there, and after a while, after the initial screaming and gesturing, I think I just stood there with my hands to my side and my jaw going, and I don't remember them leaving. They did, obviously, and then the grandma again, mom never left the minivan, and I saw her walking the youngest one, around 3, kept blowing raspberries at me. I'm like, well, I mean, that's a kid thing, but to you too. You shouldn't do that at a child, I suppose. Thought about it, but anyway, they were walking down. I was about to name the street. They were walking down the other street, and I watched her walk like this, kind of an I see you. This I remember. As she she had her back and she went. So that was just bizarre, and I can't quite process it. Chris is confident that there was nothing nefarious going on. I thought, okay, they're doing that thing that you've seen in sort of, we saw it in Romania, we saw it in Italy, where they shoot the little tiny children out, disorient you, and then rob you blind. Never happened to us. We were never robbed, but that's one of the tricks we've seen them do, and that happens. But he is convinced that that's not what was going on, that it was still daylight, and that's a major street. So I just couldn't get past the pointing out the package in the mailbox. But for my own sort of peace of mind, I accept that they weren't, there's, this was just bad parenting. This wasn't, it wasn't anything. They weren't trying to rob us in broad daylight, screaming at the top of their lungs. And honestly, that would have been a really stupid tactic. One of my friends said, maybe Dad was at the back door, which of course is entirely possible, but we'll never know. So I'm convinced that that's what was going on, which is really shitty parents need a visit from CPS. I can't even say that. The kids were clean. They were well fed. None of them appeared to be shying away from anything. I would have appreciated it if they had shied away from me screaming at them, but they did not. So I think the CPS comment is too far. I'm not sure that's very serious. Anyway, they were shitty parents. This much I do know. That I'm confident. I'm confident in saying that. But yeah, I don't know. I just had to, I thought I'd share that with you because it was so, so bizarre. And I mean, I may still write a story about it. I don't know. But, um, but truth is stranger than fiction. That was, I can't. I still can't wrap my head around it. I posted it on my Facebook page just to see him. Was this as weird as I thought it was? And people, oh hell yeah, that was weird. So there it is. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Chris was there. He saw it. um, hopefully that will never happen again. We've been here for 2 years, and nothing like that has ever happened. So I think that was an anomaly. Sure hope so. At any rate, spooky people, if you would like to read more of the true stories that are actually for realses, there's a few of them in Frozen Shadows. This is my latest book. It's a collection of short stories. Um, maybe someday I'll tell you which ones are. Okay, there's actually very few of them there. But lucid dreaming is all my dreams. And sorry. Last Text, my novella. And like I said, there is one scene in this book. This is Last Text, yes. There is one scene in this book that is 100% true. And I wrote it exactly as it happened. Let's just say our medical community could learn how to deal with mental illness just a little bit better. I'll put it that way. Anywho, on behalf of Jasper, who has been ignoring us this entire time because he's digging his music and he's sick of hearing me talk. He's very rude sometimes. I don't know what to do. Anyway, good to see you all. And if you like this video, please click like and please subscribe. And when I release them, hopefully consistently every 2 weeks, you'll get a notice, and we'll have some fun, and hopefully no more bizarre child-related incidents. Bye, spooky people.